Alright guys, so for the nerds among us, I'm going to give a little walkthrough of what it takes to do a little bit of research and add new opcode handlers, do some, figure out what the byte stream arguments for these things are. So I've gone and disassembled PDF stream dumper. Right now I'm working in a compiled executable version of the vbdec. That way I can make changes to the source code version as I run it in the IDE. So we got a pretty big project here. I'm going to go through and let's see, I'll collapse all that up, look at my hit count, and we can see that there's some unhandled ones here. And this is part of, generating this list and showing what's unhandled and which ones have a log, that is all helping me find what isn't handled and, debug it quickly. So I'll search for, anything that has the unhandled flag. All right, cool. Here we can see one late mem load variable. So we will take and copy that, and then let's see how it's used in the program itself. Now I've already done this real quick, just to make sure that this one was appropriate for a video. So here are all the places, all the functions that it's used, how big the function is and how many times it's used in the function. And then we have everything, like the complete listing over here. And what we're going to do is first we'll sort, and I obviously want the smallest example possible to figure out how this opcode is used, where it's used, how to generate it. So now I'll click on that. It'll filter my list over here. We have an example of it. All right, I'll click on that. We'll go there. So here we have an example of the late mem load var, and we can see that it's in the C script functions.getNum pages. Now, because we're working on a test executable, I did a big pcode executable that I have the source to, so I can go and see how it's being referenced, and that way I can duplicate it and try to tease it out into a small, concise example file that then I can then play with later. So I'll open up the source, and it was in get page num, or wait, what was it? It was in get num pages, rather. All right. So get num pages, this is a add-in over here, and I can just, this was kind of like a class view. Whoops, must have misspelled. And then I can just find it, sort it, get to it right away. We're out of page a little bit. So get num pages, basically this is just our little function. I'm going to copy that out. And browser is, if we go to our definition, is just the generic object. Okay, that'll be easy enough to replicate. So I'll start up a new instance of vb6, do a standard executable, and then just in our form load, I will do like demo as object, and then I will do, variant, and v is equal to
o dot some method, right? All right, so let's see how that goes. We'll go to our properties. We'll make sure we are compiling to pcode. We will compile it to our desktop. So that's where I've been doing all my work. So now we just have a very
simple, quick little project that we'll be able to step through and play with. All right, so I will bring that down. And then what we'll do is, now sometimes this capture software just kills me. It does weird things. Okay, so now we will run it in our IDE. And let's see, I'll try to get us into our window. It's a little goofy here. All right. All right, so we got it. Now we have a little quick test file that is generating the target opcode that we want, and we can now play with variations of it and see, like maybe we do different things and see how it affects the byte code here. So that way we can get some ideas of, oh, this is what I changed, and this is the differences that it made. Like that's how I figured out the bit flags for like open file. It has a bunch of different bit flags. So you just do a bunch of different variations, check out the bits that get set, and then kind of reverse it from there. So in this scenario, we have like you know, we see that these are variables here, and this is the byte sequence. So it's like, you know, so this is going to be a variable
offset. And then what is this 0, 0, 0, 0 going to be, right? So we know that we're calling like object.sum method, and it's a late mem load var. So this is going to be our object pointer. And then we need to know, you know, what method we're calling on it.
because it's a late call. It's probably going to be a string of it. So we'll bring up our constant pool viewer. And here we only have one object. Each form or class or whatever module has its own constant pool that's used for all of the functions in that thing. So I'll click on that, and we can see that, you know, index 0 of the constant pool is, you know, this value. And we've kind of gone through and brute forced it in all these different mechanisms of pulling things out of the object pool to try to figure out what it is. And the Unicode string, like here's the raw data, and it looks like a Unicode string. And so we were able to auto detect, and it's, you know, some method. So now, in order to support this opcode, we're going to be able to switch this one over to being handled. So I'll close that. That actually was the wrong one to close. Let's see, I'll bring this up, bring it into my tiny little capture window for you. There we go. Yeah, come on, Flash border. There we go. I think you're probably in frame right now. And so what we want to do is we want to get to our opcodes, and we want to do, if I can remember, is it still in my, it's not. Oh, that might be in my clipboard. Late mem load var, I do believe. There we go. So we can see that it's 5 bytes in length, that there is a duplicate copy of it up in the 4th table for some unknown reason. And I've organized these to get them all, you know, together, because these would just be, I mean, this is table 0 and this is table 4. So I've gone through and kind of conglomerated everything so I can see where all the duplicates are, and I can, you know, make more sense of this because they were just scattered all over the place. I mean, even these 4 weren't together, 21, 22, 27, 28, right? So what we're going to do is, let's see. So the first 2 are going to be an argument, and then the next 2 are going to be a string from the pool, which is, you know, we have our own little custom, you know, kind of printf statement for this. And then we're going to switch it over to be handled with the printf. That's actually a bit field that I'm setting. 1 is with, you know, the printf handler. 2 is with just the post processor. And then I'd have to have a custom post processor just for this. Or, I mean, multiple could go to it, but I'd have to write it that way. Or 3, where it would actually do the printf and a post handler, depending on how fancy we had to get. So I believe, I haven't tested this part of it ahead of time, I believe that this is going to decode properly for us now, and we'll see if I am full of it or not. So form load, and there we go. So now we have late mem load var. It's going to load var a8, and the method that it's going to be calling is, you know, o.sum method. Now, I cannot test this right now in the debugger. I would have to do a little bit more framework. You know, I'd have to create an object that was legitimate. Because, I mean, right now this code is just going to crash because we didn't give it a real object to call some method on. So it's just going to raise an exception. But I could extend my example a little bit more and then step through this and watch var a8 get set with my test method. That might be what I'll do next. I didn't think ahead far enough to do it for this example. It would have been a nice touch, but so that's how you go about adding new handlers for opcodes, figuring out bytecode streams, And really, like all the tools that you see being built into this, like, you know, the opcode hit count and showing what's handled and what's not handled, and things like, you know, we have a data viewer now where we could take an address and we could decode it as a variant or an array, and it would go through and, you know, do all kinds of fancy things for us. Like these are all, and the being able to search these lists and being able to, you know, search the code real fast. And so these are all the things that must be included in a tool like this, you know, in the constant pool viewer as well. All of these things, like we can't have any areas of mystery, and we need to be able to we need to be able to see into each corner and quickly get through the disassembly and find examples and build our own clean examples to test things. So I mean, it's interesting. It takes a lot of framework in order to get to this point. And, you know, I mean, now we can, you know, we could step through this with the debugger and watch the variables get set and make sure that what we think is right is actually right. So we can prove it all and then generate our documentation and kind of, you know. So it's a cool process. It's a really slick thing to be figuring out and reversing these things. And it's kind of like candy, really, to a reverse engineer, because you have all these puzzles, you know? I have like 1,000 opcodes as puzzles, which to a lot of people is not fun. I like puzzles, so to me it is. And so this is the process. I just thought I'd share a little bit because the nerds among us will enjoy.
All right, that's it. Take care.